Alrighty. Move this out of the way and this out of the way. And so Shauna and Bree are going to read with me today. And Shauna will read the first verse and Bree will read the second. Today we're reading chapter 21, The Moon Below Her Feet. The Feast of Trumpets, as most of us know, is on the first day of the 7th month. And the beginning of the Feast of Trumpets, or the first day of the Feast of Trumpets, is determined by the new moon. The argument is not whether or not to keep the Feast of Trumpets, but is instead which new moon we use in order to correctly determine the first day. That is, to act in accordance with the conjuncture new moon, the dark or invisible moon that is in line with between the earth and the sun, to where it cannot be seen, or a sighted new moon, crescent, which reflects the first rays of the sun after it is moved out of conjunction. I don't want to allow for anything to get lost in translation, so I'm going to quote what Mr. Martin says verbatim, starting on page 82 of his book and finishing on page 90. Here is what he says. And so this is a long quote that I will read. The essential factor in keeping the symbol of Revelation 12, verse 1 to 5, is the identification of the woman. What is John signifying by mentioning her? This much is certain. The woman is in the first 3 verses is featured as being in heaven, and both the sun and the moon are in association with her. After the dragon cast down 1/3 of the stars of heaven, from Revelation 12, verse 4, the woman is then found on earth, verse 6 and 14. But the important factor is the birth of the man-child and the woman's relationship with the heavenly signs while she is symbolically in heaven. The first 3 verses of Revelation 12 shows the sun clothing her and the moon under her feet and the 12 stars in her head. The birth of Messiah is associated with this heavenly spectacle. Since some noted heavenly bodies are part of the picture, it could well be that John intended the woman to represent a constellation that the 2 primary luminaries transverse, and that she was part of the zodiacal system which gives headship to the signs. The 12 stars were a crown upon her head. Recall that interpreting astronomical signs dominated the thinking of most people in the 1st century, whether the people were Jews or Gentiles. Indeed, the word sign, used by the author of the book of Revelation to describe this celestial display, was the same one used by the ancients to denote zodiacal constellations. That comes from Liddell and Scott, Lexicon 1448. This is made clearer when one looks closely at the text. Since the sun and moon are amidst or in line with the body of this woman, she could be, in a symbolic way, a constellation located within the normal paths of the sun and the moon. The only sign of a woman which exists along with the elliptical, the track of the sun in its journey through the stars, is that of Virgo, the Virgin. She occupies, in bodily form, a space of about 50 degrees along the ecliptic. The head of the woman actually bridges some 10 degrees into the previous sign of Leo, and her feet overlap about 10 degrees into the following sign of Libra, the scales. In the period of Jesus' birth, the sun enters in its annual course through the heavens into the head position of the woman about August 13th and exits from her feet about October 2nd. But the Apostle John saw the scene when the sun was clothing or adorning the woman. This surely indicates that the position of the sun in the vision was located somewhere mid-bodied to the woman, between the neck and the knees. The sun could hardly be said to clothe her if it were situated in her face or near her feet. The only time in the year that the sun could be in the position to clothe the celestial woman, called Virgo, that is, to be mid-bodied to her, in the region where a pregnant woman carries a child, is when the sun is located between about 150 and 170 degrees along the ecliptic. This clothing of the woman by the sun occurs for a 20-day period each year. This 20-day spread could indicate the general time when Yeshua was born. In 3 BC, the sun would have entered this celestial region about August 27th and exited from it about September 15. If John, in the book of Revelation, is associating the birth of Jesus with the period when the sun was mid-bodied to the woman called Virgo, and this is no doubt what he means, then Yeshua would have to be born within that 20-day period. From the point of view of the Magi, who were astrologers, this would have been the only logical sign under which the Jewish Messiah might have been born, especially if he were to be born of a virgin. Even today, astrologers recognize that the sign of Virgo is the one which has reference to a messianic world ruler to be born from a virgin. That comes from Devour, Encyclopedia of Astrology, page 366. Devour, Encyclopedia. This heavenly woman called Virgo is normally depicted as a virgin holding in her right hand a green branch and in her left hand a sprig of grain. In the Hebrew zodiac, she at first, in the time of David, denoted Ruth, who was gleaning in the fields of Boaz. She then later became the virgin when the prophecy of Isaiah 7 verse 14 was given in the time of King Hezekiah and the prophet Isaiah. This virgin held in her left hand a sprig of grain. This was precisely where the bright star called Spica is found. Indeed, the chief star of the constellation Virgo is Spica. Bullinger, in his book The Witness of the Stars, on page 29 to 34, says that the word Spica has, through the Arabic, the meaning the branch, and that it symbolically refers to Jesus, who was prophetically called the branch in Zechariah 3 verse 8 and 6 verse 12. And Bullinger and Seiss, in his book The Gospel of the Stars, maintains that this sign of Virgo designates the heavenly witness for the birth of Messiah, Jesus. They say that Virgo should actually begin the zodiacal signs that gives the story of the Messiah. This may be. The Apostle John may have given the same indication as far as the first full sign of the zodiac is concerned. He depicts the woman of Revelation as having a crown of 12 stars on her head. This could well show that the woman, Virgo, is the constellation of headship for all the 12 signs. The head position of Virgo is actually located within the last 10 degrees of Leo. It was in this very region where the story of the career of the Messiah would begin that Bullinger and Seiss were referring to. Thus, the story of Jesus and his mission on earth is related by these heavenly symbols, should logically begin with his birth from a virgin and conclude with him being crowned king in the final sign of Leo, the lion, with its chief star being Regulus, the king star. This is no doubt what the Apostle John was trying to show through the symbols found in Revelation 12. The birth of this child in Revelation 12, whom John identified with Jesus, should have occurred while the sun was clothing the woman, when the sun was mid-bodied to Virgo. This period of time in 3 BC covered 20 days, August 27 to September 15. If Jesus was born within that 20-day period, it would fit most remarkably with the testimony of Luke, the relative to the birth of John the Baptist and the 8th course of Abijah. Indeed, the chronological indications associated with this priestly course of Abijah place Jesus' birth exactly within this period. But there is a way to arrive at a much closer time for Jesus' birth than a simple 20-day period. The position of the moon in John's vision actually pinpoints the nativity within a day to within a period of an hour and a half, within 90 minutes on that day. This may appear an absurd assessment on the surface, but it is quite possible. Bold and underline emphasis mine. The key is the moon. The apostle said that it was located under her feet. What does the word under signify in this case? Does it mean the woman of the vision was standing on the moon when John observed it? Or does it mean that her feet were positioned slightly above the moon? John does not tell us. This, however, is not of major consequence in using the location of the moon to answer our question, because it would only involve the difference of a degree or two. The moon travels about 12 degrees a day in its course through the heavens. This motion of 1 or 2 degrees by the moon represents on Earth only a period of 2 to 4 hours. This difference is no problem in determining the time of Jesus' birth. What is vital, however, is that this shows the moon as a new moon. Emphasis mine, bold and underline. Now, note this point. Since the feet of Virgo, the Virgin, represents the last 7 degrees of the constellation, in the time of Jesus, this would have been about 180 to 187 degrees along the ecliptic. The moon has to be positioned somewhere under that 7-degree arc to satisfy the description of Revelation 12. But the moon also has to be in an exact location when the sun is mid-bodied to Virgo. In the year 3 BC, these two factors came to precise agreement for about an hour and a half, as observed from Palestine or Patmos in the twilight period of September 11. The relationship began about 6:15 p.m., sunset, and lasted until 7:45 p.m., moonset. This is the only day in the whole year that the astronomical phenomenon described in the 12th chapter of Revelation could take place. This also shows one other important point. The moon was in crescent phase. It was a new moon day, the start of a new lunar month. Emphasis mine, bold and underline. While ordinary people in modern times who are not professional astronomers have little knowledge of the solar, lunar, planetary, and stellar motions, the people from the 1st century up to the Industrial Revolution were well accustomed to them. Even people of little education were generally knowledgeable of the main motions of the astronomical bodies, even more than most college-educated people today. When anyone of earlier times read Revelation 12, verse 1 to 3, an astronomical relationship was realized at once. There was no doubt that a new moon display was being shown to them, and when the woman of the sign was interpreted as Virgo the Virgin, and with the sun mid-bodied to the Virgin, they clearly saw a new moon day occurring sometime in late summer. The Apostle John said this heavenly relationship occurred at the time of Jesus' birth. And in 3 BC, this exact combination of celestial factors happened just after sunset, only on one day of the year. It was on September 11. It could not have occurred at any other time of the year. Indeed, even one day before, on September 10, the moon would have been located above the Virgin's feet, with the crescent not visible, while 1 day farther, September 12th, the moon had moved too far beyond the feet of the Virgin, at least 25 diameters of the moon east of her feet. Thus, only 1 day applies. That day was just after sunset on September 11. The Apostle John is actually presenting to his readers something of significance in a symbolic way. Revelation 12, verse 1-3, certainly shows a new moon day that could only be observed from Earth just after sunset, and the day was September 11. This matter fits well with Luke's description of the birth of Jesus in Bethlehem. Recall that there were in the same country shepherds abiding in the field, keeping watch over the flocks by night. And the angel said, "Unto you is born this day," which begins at sundown, "in the city of David, a Savior, which is Christ the Lord." Luke 2, verse 8-11. Jesus was born in early evening, and Revelation 12 shows it was a new moon day. What new moon could this have been? The answer is most amazing. It is almost too amazing. September 11, 3 BC, was Tishrei 1 on the Jewish calendar. To Jewish people, this would have been a very profound occasion indeed. Tishrei 1 is none other than the Jewish New Year's Day, Rosh Hashanah, or, as the Bible calls it, the Day of Trumpets, Leviticus 23, verse 23-26. It was an important annual holy day of the Jews, but not one of those 3 annual festivals that required all Palestinian Jews to be in Jerusalem. What a significant day for the appearance of the Messiah to arrive on earth from the Jewish point of view. And remarkably, no other day of the year could astronomically fit Revelation 12, verse 1-3. The Apostle John is certainly showing forth an astronomical sign which answers precisely with the Jewish New Year's Day. John would have surely realized the significance of this astronomical scene that he was describing. The preceding 3.5 pages were taken from page 82-90 of The Star That Astonished the World by Ernest L. Martin. The computer image utilizes the Julian calendar, which counts the year 0 in its calculations. 3 BC is the year -2 in Julian years. So this is the 11th of September, 3 BC. And just as the sun sets and is mid-bodied of the constellation Virgo, and the moon is now become visible to the naked eye, when I magnified this moon above, we can see below that it is a crescent moon below her feet. And again, this is the first day of the 7th month and the Feast of Trumpets. To clarify Gregorian years and Julian years, you need to understand that there is no year 0 when using the Gregorian counting going from Common Era to before Christ era. But Julian used a 0 year nonetheless. Look at the 2 systems below to better understand how they differ in their counting. The Gregorian count is 3 AD, 2 AD, 1 AD, 1 BC, 2 BC, 3 BC. The Julian count is 3 AD, 2 AD, 1 AD, 0, 1 BC, 2 BC, 3 BC. As you look back in time before the year 0, the Julian system changes the year by 1 year. That is, compared to the Gregorian system, in that the Julian system uses the year 0 in its counting. I contacted Mr. Wadsworth, a biblical astronomer, and he confirmed the findings of Mr. Martin. In fact, many planetariums around the world have made changes to their planetary shows based on the findings of Mr. Martin. This is no small thing. Other noteworthy books on this subject that are sure to be of interest to you are as follows: The Gospel in the Stars by Joseph A. Sayce, The Witness of the Stars by E. W. Bullinger, The Glory of the Stars by E. Raymond Capt, Mazzaroth by Francis Rollison, written in 1865, a rare book, 365 Starry Nights by Chet Ramo, the works of Bob Wadsworth, biblical astronomer and researcher, with more videos and newsletters to keep you informed. But to confirm this to myself, I also installed a computer program called Dance of the Stars, recommended by and purchased by Mr. Wadsworth, and another software program called Starry Nights, which you can get at www.starrynights.com. I too was able to prove to myself this same event occurring on the same day. The moon conjunction was September 9th. The September 10th was a 1% moon, which would have been difficult to see with the sun setting only moments before and not yet below the feet of Virgo. September 11th was a 4% visible crescent moon, and as you can see in the picture above, the moon is below the feet of the constellation Virgo. I have now presented you with the facts concerning the birth of Messiah on the Feast of Trumpets in 3 BC. I have also presented proof of a crescent moon as described by the Apostle John. I believe we can now substantiate with sufficient biblical evidence to boot that a new crescent moon is what begins each month, followed by the countdown to each of the holy days as outlined in Leviticus 23. It is the crescent moon that is the variable in how the month begins. It can be seen on one of the two nights. Each month is either 29 or 30 days in length as the moon circumnavigates the earth. It takes the moon 29.5 days to travel around the earth. Because there is no such thing as a half a day, each month is either 29 or 30 days in length, adding or subtracting that half day each month. This is why no man can know the exact day when the crescent moon will be sighted. Will they see it on the 29th or on the 30th? No one knows for certain in advance. To the exact time the moon will be sighted after the sun has set is the other variable. If the haze is not too thick and there are no clouds, then sometime between sunset and moonset, the crescent moon can be seen. We just never know when or at what time exactly. And this now proves the veracity of the Hebrewism spoken of in Matthew 24.
But of that day and hour no one knows, not even the angels of heaven, but my Father only. Matthew 24:36.
Brilliant. Wow.
Chapter 22. Joe, is it okay if I go to chapter 22? Okay, I'm just going to go ahead. Chapter 22, Born on the Feast of Trumpets. Having stated all in which we have now shared with you, it is possible to know the date of the Messiah's coming. Is it possible to know the date of the Messiah's coming?
But concerning the times and the seasons, brethren, you have no need that I should write to you. For you yourselves have known perfectly that the day of the Lord comes as a thief in the night. For when they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction comes upon them, as labor pains upon a pregnant woman, and they shall not escape. But you, brethren, are not in darkness, so that this day should overtake you as a thief. You are all sons of light and sons of the day. We are not of the night nor of darkness. 1 Thessalonians 5.
We who profess to be followers of Jehovah are to understand these things. We are not to be stumbling about in the dark like the rest of the world is. We are to be ready so as not to be surprised, as if a thief in the night had sneaked up upon us in stealth mode. When we keep the holy days and have the Holy Spirit to lead us in all truth, then we know who the thief in the night is. It is Yeshua, who comes on the Feast of Trumpets. We are supposed to be watching for him on this night. It is the night that the 2 witnesses are needed to confirm the crescent moon. In knowing what the holy days represent, we can then understand that the expression, "but of that day and hour no one knows," is again a Hebrewism or a Hebrew idiom. It is an expression which is known and readily understood within the framework of the cultural context of the ancient Bible times.
Now learn this parable from the fig tree. When its branch has already become tender and puts forth leaves, you know that the summer is near. So you also, when you see all these things, know that it is near and at the door. Assuredly, I say to you, this generation will by no means pass away till all these things take place. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will by no means pass away. But of that day and hour no one knows, not even the angels of heaven, but my Father only. But as the days of Noah were, so also will the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered the ark, and did not know until the flood came and took them all away. So also will the coming of the Son of Man be. Then 2 men will be in the field, one will be taken and the other left. 2 women will be grinding a mill, one will be taken and the other left. Matthew 24:32 through 41.
Watch therefore, for you do not know what hour your Lord is coming. But know this, that if the master of the house had known what hour the thief would come, he would have watched and not allowed his house to be broken into. Therefore, you also be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect. Who then is a faithful and wise servant, whom his master made ruler over his household, to give them food in due season? Blessed is the servant whom his master, when he comes, will find so doing. Assuredly, I say to you that he will make him ruler over all his goods. But if that evil servant says in his heart, my master is delaying his coming, and begins to beat his fellow servants, and to eat and drink with the drunkards, the master of that servant will come on a day when he is not aware of, and will cut him in two and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Matthew 24:42 to.
In this passage, our Messiah says a number of things, but most people stop at, "But of that day and hour no one knows, not even the angels of heaven, but my Father only." They don't read or grasp what is being said when he said, "Watch therefore, for you do not know what hour your Lord is coming." Here we are told to watch and be hyper-vigilant. And yet many of us who presume to be his sheep don't know the hour. But can we at least say that we know the day? And why can't we know the hour? Let this be food for serious thought in the meanwhile. Yeshua then admonishes us concerning the thief in the night.
He would have watched and not allowed his house to be broken into. Therefore, you also be ready, for the Son of Man is coming in an hour you do not expect. Matthew 24:43 through 44.
Again, We are told that an hour that we do not expect, but also he does not say we won't know the day. But as for the evil servant, only he says the master of that servant will come on a day when he is not looking for him and an hour that he is not aware of. He makes the distinction that it is the evil servant who will not know the day or the hour. Why? Because that evil servant, namely the 5 foolish virgins, will not be keeping the holy days and watching as they, or we, are commanded to be in the business of doing on the most critical days of the days of days. Because of their, or our, spiritual blindness and hardness of heart, we, will not expect the Messiah to come on this day, the Feast of Trumpets, which is all about his second coming on the very day, the day of shouting. I will quote Paul again.
Concerning the times and the seasons, brethren, you have no need that I should write to you. 1 Thessalonians 5:1.
Why did Paul not need to address the Thessalonians concerning the times and the season? What is he talking about here? Paul is talking about the holy days they keep in strict accordance with the biblical calendar. That is, during the appropriate seasons. They were keeping the holy days correctly, in other words. So what does this all mean? For one, it means the holy days are shadow pictures of the good things yet to come.
So let no one judge you in food or in drink or regarding a festival or a new moon or Sabbath, which are a shadow of things to come, but the substance of Yeshua. Colossians 2:16 through 17.
Now, if he were on earth, he would not be a priest at all, since there are priests who offer gifts according to the law. They serve a copy and a shadow of the heavenly things. For when Moses was about to erect the tent, he was instructed by God, saying, "See that you make everything according to the pattern that was shown you on the mountain." Hebrews 8:4 through 5.
In other words, let no man judge you in food or drink, festivals, or with regard to the new moons or Sabbaths.
For the law, having a shadow of good things to come, and not the very image of these things, can never with these same sacrifices repeated. Let me say that again. And can never with these same sacrifices repeated, which they offer continually year by year, make those who approach perfect. Hebrews 10:1.
Who are you to judge a servant who is not yours? For if he stands to his master, and if he falls to his master. For it is appointed to his master to be able to establish him. There is one who distinguishes one day from another, and there is another who judges all days the same. But let every person be certain in his own mind. Romans 14.
The Thessalonians were keeping the holy days correctly and understood the true meaning and full import of each day. Each holy day represented a part of our Father's plan of salvation for mankind. I think we all know this by now. But do we forget that the sabbatical years and the Jubilee years are also shadow pictures of good things still to come? The evil servant, those of us who will not obey Jehovah, his Torah, his laws, will not know the day or the season for the simple reason that he or she will refuse to or fail at keeping the holy days at the correct times or the correct days, or even keeping them at all. The evil servants who have believed and or been taught amiss will be thinking he will come back at any time or any hour or on any day. They will be blown away about every wind and wave of false doctrine that comes down the pike and hinges their faith regarding his second coming on every baseless theory and scenario that comes along. The good servant, however, will have already made themselves ready. Their garments for the wedding feast will have been washed and made white as the driven snow, as well as pressed, laid aside, and ready to wear at a moment's notice on the given day leading up to the exact given hour. They will be ready because these good and faithful servants, or the 5 wise virgins, will be watching for the Feast of Trumpets. Read Matthew 25 and Matthew 22 word for word, line upon line, and precept upon precept to make yourself ready. But also take note of the servants who are working to increase the talents or money left to them by the king. Translated and decoded, this means to increase the measure of the Holy Spirit bestows upon us and at work within us, backdating to the time in which that we were first called. It could not hurt either to pray for a double or an extra measure of Jehovah's Spirit as well, just to be on the safe side. How much have you grown spiritually and grown rich in the fruits of the Spirit? If we do not first come and possess the fruits of the Spirit, and instead seek only after the gifts of the Spirit, signs and wonders, we may become puffed up. Without the fruits, there still remains a good chance he will say, "Depart from me, I never knew you." Exactly how alive and on fire is his Holy Spirit within you? How zealous are you to learn of and share his word with others? How much do you hunger and thirst after him? And like Isaiah say, "Here I am, send me." But getting back to the hour and the day, what day are we talking about? As I've stated before, it is the Feast of Trumpets. This is the day the Messiah is to return. This is the day Yeshua was born in 3 BC. And because it is the Feast of Trumpets, this is why we won't know the exact hour. All the research I have presented to you with points to the Feast of Trumpets being on the first day of the 7th month, or Tishrei. More specifically, it begins when the new moon can first be seen in Jerusalem. This is Tishrei 1 and the Feast of Trumpets. In times past, once the new moon was spotted, at least 2 witnesses had to immediately report back to the temple and inform the guard, who would, in turn, notify the high priest. The high priest would then call upon the 2 witnesses to come forward and be questioned so he could ensure that they saw the sliver crescent of the new moon and that the sun had set before they saw it. Once the high priest was satisfied, he would summon the Sanhedrin and announce the Feast of Trumpets was at hand and command the trumpets to be blown, thus announcing the Feast of Trumpets to all. In like fashion, we are told in the book of Malachi that the 2 witnesses are going to come before the day of Jehovah.
Behold, I'm sending you. Hold on a second. Sorry about that. Behold, I am sending you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of Jehovah. And ye shall turn the heart of the fathers to the sons, and the hearts of the sons to their father, that I not come and strike the earth with utter destruction. Malachi 4:5-6.
Daniel also talks about the 2 witnesses at the time of the end, after the king of the north destroys the king of the south. In this verse, the word translated as sanctuary should be translated as saints. It is the saints who will be trampled.
And I heard a certain holy one speaking, and another holy one said to that one who spoke, Until when shall the vision last concerning the daily sacrifice and the transgression that astounds, to give both the sanctuary and the host to be trampled? Daniel 8:13.
In Revelation, we read that these two witnesses are to do what these two witnesses are to do and how they are to die after 3.5 years of work. They die on the Feast of Passover, which means they begin to work on the Feast of Trumpets, the same way in which we have two witnesses coming forward on the Feast of Trumpets to testify to the sighting of the moon, which then is the start of the day of shouting when Messiah is to come. There are many who will sharply disagree with my conclusions, but please give careful thought to all of what I have just shared as I apply it to the here and now. Everyone is waiting for this shout out to usher in the feast, but are still tied up at their jobs, working overtime, juggling more than one job, or stuck in a juggernaut on the freeway after getting off work. But they have already made their garments white, spotless, and have pressed them. Even the food for the feast has been prepared well in advance and is ready and waiting. And yet, no one knows when the shofar, the trumpet, is to be blown. And so they will keep on working, two in the field working side by side. One will be taken and one will remain. Two women kneading bread side by side. One will be taken and one will remain. When the Messiah returns on the Feast of Trumpets, no one will know the hour nor the day. How so? Because they won't know again if the moon is going to be sighted the day of or the following day. I am referring to a crescent moon with only a 1% visibility. A moon with a 2% or more should be easily seen, but they will know the feast day is at hand and very close to being announced. Once the crescent moon is sighted, there's a brief procedure to go through before it is declared official. Finally, the heads up is given. The shofars are blown and the Messiah returns. If those who are chosen are taken while their fellow workers are left behind, how can this be a feast day if they are still working? If it was a conjuncture moon, it would have been predicted in advance and a day or two before. But because it is a sighted, visible crescent moon, signifying the onset of the first day of the new month, and given the first day of the 7th month is the Feast of Trumpets and a holy day, coupled with the fact that we were talking about the 7th month, which is called Tishrei, they will not know the day or the hour that it begins because it is sighted, and they will not know for certain whether it is the day of or the following day that the feast begins. This is why the brethren will still be found working alongside those who are not in the way of keeping the holy days at the right time and during the right month. We know Yeshua followed the patterns of the spring holy days right down to the last detail at his first coming. Therefore, we can expect him to fulfill the fall holy days in keeping with the first coming, right down to the last details as well. Prepare your garments now by seeing to it that they are white, spotless, and without blemish or wrinkle, and ready to be thrown on when the shofar is finally blown. Don't be the one, or let your children and grandchildren be the ones, told by the groom, "I never knew you. Depart from me, you workers of lawlessness." Don't be counted among the 5 foolish virgins who forgo keeping the holy days and knowing the times of his second coming. Get ready now. He is coming, and coming soon. Will you be ready?
Wow.
Okay, I was trying to comment or talk to you after the first chapter, but I was muted. And then when I paused, you hadn't heard me and I couldn't find my mouse. So anyway, very good. Anyone got any questions about what Sombra has just read, or any comments that they'd like to make?
I have a comment.
Ella, go ahead.
If, we can't know the day we do, but if it is not the 29th day that the moon is sighted, then we will know it'll be on the 30th, correct?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you won't know that until. Okay, so we actually, I got an example of that right today. Somebody was trying to sight the moon last night. I don't know why, but the moon is potentially visible tonight. Today is the 29th day. So we'll be looking for it tonight. According to Torah calendar, it's going to be very difficult to see. It's going to be in the haze. So it will most likely be seen tomorrow night, making it a 30th day month. So that exact scenario, is it today or tomorrow? We just don't know. We're living that out right now as we're looking for the moon tonight.
But my point is, if it doesn't happen on the 29th day, then we do know that it will be the next day. So we can have that day to look forward to and prepare, to absolutely say, hey, he's coming today.
But you won't know until you go to sight tonight. So you don't know the
Yeah.
day or hour. And hopefully when you don't see it, you know it's tomorrow.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you don't see it the 29th day, then you know it's going to be tomorrow.
Which is proving exactly what Yeshua said was the
Right.
nickname for this feast. The day
Right.
and hour is called the feast of the day and hour no one knows. So, and that's why we just don't know. So both yes and no to your answer or statement, Ella.
Wonderful. It's Hebrew euphemism.
Oh, it's a Hebrew idiom is what it is. Yes.
Wonderful.
I don't know about that, Summer. Do we want to bring that up now, or we've got a few minutes? We can do that if you want.
I don't know if that takes just a few minutes or if that's a whole half
It
hour.
could be a big
Right.
discussion. Anyone other comments anyone has about what we've just read?
Could I say something for a second?
Yes, sir. Time's up. Okay.
Because the ones working in the field, one was taken and the other was left, would suggest that he comes on the 29th and not the 30th.
Well, so there's a debate about that, and there are people that say that the ones that are taken are the tares, and they're thrown into the fire, and the ones that are left behind are the wheat. They can make a case for that, or the ones that are taken are the saints, and the ones left behind are the ones going through the tribulation. I don't, I just want to be ready. I'm not sure that both those cases, whichever one you want to get into, become circular in the argument. So I don't know.
Yeah. Just thought I'd mention it.
Yeah.
If
Stuart,
you were meant to know, wouldn't have the Lord been more specific which one was taken and which one was left? I mean, like you said, it can be taken circularly. So does it have to be, do we have to determine, do we have to know that one?
I
Wouldn't
don't
it be,
put.
Sorry.
No, go ahead, Paul.
Wouldn't it be that when the moon is seen in Jerusalem, no matter where you are on the planet, you could be taken? So the observation is Jerusalem. But as in Australia, we're sleeping. As in Israel, they're just waking up in the morning. As in America, you're already 7 hours ahead of what's happening in Israel, so you're watching during the day. You could be in the field. The problem is we got to look at Jerusalem as the witness of where we look from, but it could be anywhere in the world. We could be doing something or sleeping. It could be lying down in bed and you disappear one person out of the bed and the other one's still asleep, not knowing what's going on. It's the location is anywhere in the world at one point in time, but the time is when it's seen in Jerusalem.
Okay, let me get Stuart, and he's been had his hand up there for a bit. Stuart.
So this is really interesting for me. I don't know if I'm thinking the right way, but my brain is considering the words, one will be taken and one will be left behind. And I'm kind of thinking about the two different virgins. And I'm kind of wondering if the ones who are taken are actually the ones who are not showing up for work that day because they're recognizing that it's a feast day, and they're just not showing up for work. They're going to their feast day. Whereas the ones left behind don't know it's a feast day. They're just going to work. And so I'm wondering about the translation we have for taking. And I'm wondering if it's is just a play on words to mean that those who are the wise virgins are going to the feast. They're receiving Yeshua, who has arrived. They're not necessarily snatched out of a field. They just don't show up. They go to the feast day.
Yeah, and like I said, we can argue in favor of what you're saying, or we can argue in favor of the tares being taken first. And you're both going to use similar scriptures. I think MF said it, or Maria said it there properly. We just need to be ready. We just all need to be ready. And okay, if we're taken, great. Okay, if we're not taken and they're killed, okay, great. I think we just need to be ready. But the bigger question is, how do you be ready? What do you have to do to be ready? You can't just do that overnight. Sarkis, go ahead.
Yeah, it's the same passages in Luke 17, Matthew 24 versus Luke 17. If you read at the end of it, I'll read the last two verses, verse 17, chapter 17, verse 36. Two men shall be in the field, the one shall be taken, and the other left. And they answered and said unto him, Where, Lord? And he said unto them, Wheresoever the body is, there will the eagles be gathered together. It's the same pattern as in Revelation 19, where the angels are preparing, telling everybody to get ready to the wild animals and everything to eat the bodies of the kings and the captains and the mighty ones. Why? Because the king is saving the remnant, and those who were in the field that were killed, and so the ones that will be left are the one who will be killed. The remnants are not. Okay. That's another way to look at it, because if you compare that to Matthew 18, that verse 37 doesn't exist there, but here it does. It just gives us another clue that whoever is left will be destroyed.
Okay, and like I said, we can go either way on this, and sure, for both sides. Brian, go ahead, sir.
Shalom. I have a complete Hebrew text of Matthew from Shem Tov entitled the Even Boham. I just want to read these two passages. Matthew 24:40. Then if there shall be two plowing in a field, one righteous and the other evil, the one will be taken and the other left. Two women will be grinding at a mill, one will be taken and the other left. This is because the angels at the end of the world will remove the stumbling blocks from the world and will separate the good from evil. So we see righteous being number one, evil being number two, one taken is number one evil being, or the other left being evil. And then the separate at the end of the world where they separate the good from the evil, good being the one, evil being two. So I'm just saying it seems more of the righteous that are going to be taken, not left.
Okay. We're gonna have to take a vote on this afterwards. See which one's which. Danny, go ahead, sir. Danny Silo, you're muted. Okay, Eric, Eric, go ahead while Danny figures out how to turn on his mic.
So when you went through all that, the one thing I kind of clued on was this one little point, but it's like this one point is small, but when you go through and assume a lot of things, sometimes we can get ourselves in trouble. But you called the 7th month Tishri. You know where that's coming from?
Hang on, I called the 7th month Tishri. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, I said that so people would know what I was talking about, but go ahead.
Right. Do you know the actual name, the biblical name of the 7th month? I'm
It's
just
called
curious.
the 7th month.
Are you sure?
The 7th month in the Bible, all the months in the Bible were named from 1 through 12 or 13.
Right.
And the 13th month was actually the second 12th month. They were not given names until after they came back from Babylon. There were a couple months that had names that we know of, but they were named from 1 through 12.
Okay. Well, I was just curious because when I read in the book of Kings, it talks about the 7th month being called Ethanim.
Yes.
Is that a biblical? Is that a name given by God or given by men?
It's a pre-Babylonian name, and I couldn't tell you what it means. I haven't looked it up, but
so just like the month of
Probably
Aviv.
Assyrian.
Pardon me?
It's probably Assyrian. I'll look it up.
I'm curious because the month of Aviv was actually named by God himself.
Yeah. It's a description of the month.
Right. I'm just wondering if Ethanim was also given by God also, or was that something that was made up by man?
I can't tell you. I don't know. Sombra wouldn't get us the answer.
And the other thing, I was going to talk just about that 7th month, but one of the qualifications that God gives in the return is just like in the days of Noah, just like in the days of Lot. The people that were taken out in both cases were the unrighteous. The ones that remained on the earth were the righteous in both cases, Noah and Lot. So if that pattern is following it, if he's identifying it with just like in the days of Noah, just like in the days of Lot, it sounds like to me, and when it says 2 men in one bed, that kind of conjures up, that may not necessarily be a good thing. But and you see 2 in bed, some working, some in the field. So it's showing that it's happening at a certain time, but throughout the world, some people are sleeping, some people are working, some people are in the field. So you have different time zones. I think it's trying to show there, but it seems like in that, if he's going to compare it to Sodom and Gomorrah, the thing they have in common between the two is the righteous stay on the earth, because eventually the righteous will inherit the earth. And
what about the tares that are taken first?
Yeah, I'm saying that the tares are taken first. I'm saying the tares, the ones that are taken are the tares, the ones that are righteous remain on the earth. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, I see. Okay.
You see what I'm saying? So I'm saying Sodom was the same way. He took out the tares, but he left the righteous. And then in Noah, he took out, I guess I don't know if you call them tares or not, but the non-believers as compared to the 8 that remained on the earth. That's the only point I was trying to make.
Okay.
So I have
Danny,
an answer for answer for Etanim.
Go ahead.
So Etanim means perennials or eternal flow. It says the name Etanim belongs to a month, and particularly 7th month, which corresponds to our months September and October. After the exile, the Jews began to refer to the 7th month by its Babylonian name Tishrei, but the name does not occur in the Bible. The month of Etanim is mentioned only once in the Bible. All men of Israel came together to King Solomon at the time of the festival in the month of Etanim, the 7th month. And the Hebrew comes from the word tanan, speaking luring and scavenging and preying upon the weak and gullible. Tana meaning to hire, predominantly of a prostitute, and the noun etan, or etna describes the hire of a prostitute. It should be noted that the societies were considered houses and their central governments for the house father. The Bible often uses the prostitute to describe a society which would typically be a society without a central rule and which maintains its fading identity by means of shifting allegiances with neighboring states. Still, on rare occasions, this verb is also used to describe how God displays his splendor in the heavens, presumably to lure humanity to him, even though humanity does not accept the formal knowledge of natural laws. That's the word of God as their king. The noun tan describes some kind of predatory animal, possibly a jackal. Tanin refers to a mythological aquatic serpentine creature which appears to dwell in the caustic undertow of human society.
What's your source here, Sambra?
This is Abarim Publications.
Okay. So basically, we only have one time that is mentioned in the entire Bible.
Yeah.
And from the sounds of it, we don't know if it's inspired or not.
No.
Okay. Danny, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
All right, that's cool. Finally, I got my internet fixed. But anyways, I just have a question with regards to what Sambra was reading. 3 BC. Is that from the Stellarium, or you have a different software?
On Stellarium, on the software, because they're all mathematically software programs,
right,
they will include the Julian date.
That's right.
Which is the year 0.
Right. So which means I have to look at it at 2 BC instead of 3 BC.
If you're using a program, generally 2 BC is what you'll be looking for. Correct.
Okay.
But also check your program. You know, the ones that I used to use all included the Julian dating system. So if you check your program, maybe they've compensated for that and have updated. So again, things are changing all the time, but you got to double check.
Okay, that's good. And one last thing, will the sign in 2 BC, will that be the same exact sign as portrayed in Revelation 12 verses 1 and 2?
If they're using the Julian dating system, yes, it will be.
Okay. All right. So somehow it's not matching up with mine, but anyways, it's okay.
Check 2 BC.
Okay.
And then September 10th, then check 3 BC, not September 10th, September 11th, 3 BC and 2 BC, and see which one it is.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
That's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Ezra, go ahead, sir.
Well, wonderful passage that you all read. I was just attending a new moon service just now, and I suddenly was cut off, and then I thought, I must go for the sighted moon. And when I came in, wow, I heard this wonderful research into the exact day. September the 11th, 3 BC. Wow, that made my day. Indeed. That is brilliant. Very good. So good that I would say that the good virgins knew the sighting, but the foolish ones keep going for the conjunction moons and the other, Masoretic Hillel II fixed calendar. And they are also virgins, by the way, because they are saved by the blood of the Lamb. But if they are obstinate and refuse to bend to go for the wonderful sightedmoon.com and learn from Joseph Duman, then they would not get into the nuptial flight and will arrive late because their dates are. They will arrive late, but they still would be accepted. They would not be tares because they are all virgins. The secret of this is that they are all virgins and not tares and not unrighteous. Missing the day or refusing to go after, the sighted moon doesn't constitute them as unrighteous. They are righteous in their ways, but foolish not to listen to the two witnesses, because the two witnesses are the ones recorded by both Philo and Josephus, that they have to concur, and in the hearing of the 72, the Sanhedrin plus the two high priests, that the day can be sanctified. The new moon day is sanctified upon the hearing of two faithful witnesses. And it has been going on in the days of Messiah. And it's because it was restored by the Maccabean victory to overturn all the Hellenistic things that has polluted the temple. And they have restored it to good enough, original, so to say, so that it will
everything that you just said, the two witnesses, the reporting of the two witnesses, the stuff that you didn't talk about was the thief in the night, the day and hour no one knows. All those things are applicable to the Feast of Trumpets, to this time of year. And we have to take all of that into consideration when you're looking at prophecy, because they're talking about the same time. It's a time of judgment. And if we're not paying attention to that, we're going to miss it. Sombra, have you got this up here for a reason? No?
I just didn't know if Ezra knew what book we were reading from, so I just wanted to show him.
Stuart, you had your hand up there. Are you still wanting to say something, or have you?
The book, yeah. I would like to read the whole of it. Show me the book. I want to take a screenshot of the book. How to get the book? Oh, that one. Joseph Dumont's book. Wonderful. Brilliant, Joseph. You are the end time Joseph, a man of the hour. To bring back this precise sighting of the new moon.
Well, I'm just
majority are wrong.
I'm just one of the many people here that are looking for it every month.
Is it? Yeah, there are some, Karaite jokers looking
well,
for
they're
it.
doing it too. Janet, go ahead.
Okay. I wrote down a comment and a question. Let me start with the question. Do we know which one of the prophecies will be fulfilled in the 6th millennium, and which ones of the prophecies in the scriptures are going to be fulfilled by the end of the 7th millennium? So I think it's part of the questions that we have may not be pertinent immediately, ASAP. So with that in mind, let me make a comment about like the days of Lot. You've made a good point, and I think it's a good theory. And I have a theory also, like in the days of Lot. Where I live, this is very pertinent. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's actually happening, and it's called the 15-minute city. And we're getting smaller and smaller, which is a good thing if you are like in a village where you can be like 100 years ago, living off the land and bartering with each other for commodities that you need to live, and being more social and not having the Wi-Fi and all of that. It's coming. And I won't go into all the detail of what's happening where I live, but they are preparing for that. So in the days of Lot, imagine you're in a city and they're divided up, and you end up in a city that's wicked, like Lot did. He ended up in a city that was wicked, and prayers of the righteous will go out to save those who are in the wicked cities. And just like Lot, angels appeared and took him and his wife and his 2 daughters out of the city before it rained brimstone and fire and killed all the people in that wicked city. So this could be a process that goes into the 7th millennium and all the way through it. And it's a way for us to be wakened up to the right way, the righteous way to live. And I personally would be glad to be in a 15-minute village where we had a group of people who met regularly for the Sabbath, and we did things for each other like we did in the old days. There was no extreme poisoning, toxicities in our lives. And
okay, but this is all speculation, and this is all, we don't know what the future is going to hold. We have only got the Torah and those things, the scriptures that we've been reading, as well as the holy days, to lead us and to show us what to be looking for. And yes, a lot of the things that we're talking about now at the end of the 6th millennium will again be applied at the end of the 7th millennium, except by the time we get to the 7th millennium, we'll already have the experience of the 6th millennium to look back on historically. It's, we have the experience of Yeshua coming out of the grave to look back on, to tell us about Shavuot. So previous Holy Day events will give us more understanding about future Holy Day events into the next millennium.
Okay.
So, but the stuff that, what they're going to do and how we're going to set up it, that's all speculation.
And there will be rebellion.
Towards the end, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep. All righty.
Okay, because my city is going to be designed after the way I think it should be, but that's if I get one, right? I may not get one. I may be in yours, and then if I come in yours, I may have to rebel. So, just kidding. Josephine, go ahead.
Shabbat Shalom. You hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Okay. So I am born the 11th of September. I am Josephine, and thank God for our meeting. But the more I learn, the more I see the scene, I understand the verse hope, faith, and love. But the greatest is love. But it's like I am losing hope. Losing faith. Understanding the events that are taking place. It just, if I die, I die. If I live, I live. It's for Messiah. But I'm just like losing hope for this world, for the people around. It's just.
Well, this world is, we all know, going to get much darker. We also know, from Bible prophecy, that Israel, the state of Israel, is eventually going to lose these wars. I don't want to see it. But we're going to see it. And it's going to get very dark, and it's going to get very scary. And, we might have each other, we might not have each other. But you have to look past this. We're coming. Imagine you're giving birth. You're about to give birth. And you remember the last one, it hurt. It hurt like hell. And you don't want to go through that pain again. But this time the baby's a 10-pounder. He's big. But he's still coming out that same small opening. It's going to hurt. But 10 minutes after the baby's born, you forgot all about the pain, and you're enjoying the beauty of this baby, this life that you've given birth to. This is all these things, all these emotions, all this fear, trepidation, anxiety, but the hope that this child, which is us, this nation that's going to be born, which is us, this remnant, which we want to be a part of, is going to be standing, having Jehovah himself talk to us face to face, teach us face to face. We're going to have King David rebuilding the Jerusalem and rebuilding Israel to the proper borders. And you're going to be a part of that. You know, I was just teasing Janet, my farm. You know, I'll have pure breed Holstein, pure breed, well, not Holstein, but red heifers, black Angus, Guernseys, the Charolais. I'll have purebred chickens, peacocks, pheasants, guinea hens, all purebreds, all isolated and on display for everyone to see. I'll have purebred fields of wheat and grain as samples for people to come and see. That's my dream. Now, whether I get to do it or whether I'm going to be assigned something else, I don't know. But we can dream. But if we just, you know, if you're in the closet and you're looking only inside the closet, then that's where your focus will be. We at SightOfTheMoon.com, I promote and tell you where we are prophetically, stepping along the way here, what I see coming, the growing of the evil, four seals, how would I put it like that? But that's not my focus. It may seem like it's my focus, but it's not my focus. My focus is to get past that finish line, which is 10 years from now. There's a lot of bad stuff coming. So you know, we go through cycles up and down. I go through up and down depressions and excitement. And hopefully the people that I talk to, my friends at the time, are not also going through a downtime at the same time I am. Having both of us or three of us in a downer mood sucks. So we need somebody to always be up, and we take turns, and we all go up and down. So I don't know if that helps, Josephine, but you know, maybe it's just cloudy there in Switzerland.
Josephine. Yeah, it's great to hear you speaking like this, and that I can speak to my because hope is like, I mean, even Amir Tsarfati is saying about the song Hatikva, but there is like no more hope. Everyone is going through trauma, but once you say, Joseph, to and as you were speaking, I remember that to that Karaite friend that you have, Nehemiah Gordon, you said, let's go through at the end. Let's go through, and we will see the birth of the kingdom millennium. But it's like, yeah, it's. I would say it's impossible for me, but not for God for sure. But for me, it's like.
Yeah. Josephine, Paul Collier here. Josephine, Psalm 139 might help you. It has helped me many times. I think it's in verse 10 in Psalm 139. It says, God knew you before you were born. He planned every day of your life. You are speaking with Sighted Moon, with people in Sighted Moon that care about each other. I want to say that Yeshua has personally put something in you. Planned your day. Yes, you're feeling depressed about it, but in his planning, yes, you'll be depressed, but yes, you will come out of it. Continue to focus on his face and he will lift you up. The Bible says that if Jesus be lifted up, he will draw all men to himself. So focus your eyes on Yeshua and he will lift you up. No matter what else happens around you, he is the one that will take you from being stood on to being one above. But don't become proud of being the one above. Be humble as Moses was, and he will lift you up. He is the one that is going to be your crown. Just be blessed, because just remember it says, in his planning, we're talking. I'm listening to you tell us about yourself. I am telling you how God looks at you. and how well he thinks of you and where you're at. Yes, you may have a journey to come, but you are going to get better at it. Keep persevering and you'll get there.
Okay, I want to get going here by about 3 o'clock. And so I know Sarkis and Somber still got their hands up, and we're going to try and keep it short if we can. And who is it? Hope. Holsteins, you got to work all the time with Holsteins, and beef cattle, you don't. That's why. So I'm a little bit lazy. Sarkis, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say something, not only to encourage each other here, but that is to remember Exodus. Because Exodus, people were suffering before Moses shows up. And then Jehovah provides them salvation. And it took time to get them out of there. It didn't happen overnight, like with Lot, rescue him right there the night before. And so I always look at Exodus as a model that could happen in future. And then we just need to stay faithful, stay strong, meditate on the scripture, memorize, repeat, trust him. His word is true. And by going through that difficult time, a time will come when our faith will be justified and will be saved. And that's where I look at it. That's all.
Thank you, Sarkis. Sombra?
I basically wanted to say the same thing as imagine yourself as an Israelite in Egypt, and it is hard going through all of this, but remember, they got out. They got out and they got to the promised land, and it was hard, but they got there. And I also like to remember we are under the shelter of his wings. You know, as long as you stay under that shelter of his wing, imagine his talit over you. Yes, you're going to see the chaos all around you, and you're going to see all these things happening. But our focus isn't to be on the things, the chaos that's happening around us, because yes, that will make us fear. Rather, focus on staying under the shelter of that wing, staying under that talit, and keeping our eyes on Yehovah, because he's going to lead us. Remember, they had the pillar of cloud and the pillar of fire, and as long as they kept their eyes on that and followed that, they were going to be fine. And we're going to be fine too, because whether you live or die, if you die in Torah, if you die in faith in Yeshua, you're going to be resurrected. Hallelujah. And if you live through all of this and you get to 2033, hallelujah, you're going to be given a new body. So, you know, just keep holding on to that.
Okay.